What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog channel. I am rushing this intro because we always are late for these reservations that I do on the strip. And today is no different. We are literally about to run out the door to go to our reservation. We're going to Morimoto at MGM Grand, which I'm very excited about because if you are a fan of Food Network, like I have been for many, many years, then you probably know that Chef Morimoto is an Iron Chef and he has a restaurant here and we're going to it. And I'm very excited. So I'm going to bring you along. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more in the car because like I said, we are running out the door, but Ryan is probably driving. So I'll talk to you a little bit more, in the car. Although before we go, I also want to show you my outfit because I'm very excited. I found these corduroy yellow pants in the back of my closet and I still had the tags on them. I've never worn them. I think I bought these when I had a weird color hair and I was like, oh, I'll wear these when I don't have this hair color, and then I completely forgot about them. So I'm wearing them now. I'm wearing them with this shirt that you guys always notice when I wear it, that this is the shirt that I'm wearing in my profile picture on my main channel, but it has this little yellow stripe on it that matches the pants. And I also have teal socks. I cuffed these because I'm gonna wear boots with them, but yeah, it's a whole matching vibe. I would have done yellow and teal makeup, but I just didn't have time to do anything crazy with my makeup, so I just went with a little bit of brown. But yeah, very excited. The maiden voyage of the pants. If anybody has any advice on how to wash corduroy pants, please let me know because I am scared to wash these. We gotta go, so I'll catch up with you. Going to the MGM. That is where Morimoto is. That's the name of the restaurant, by the way. We're not actually gonna see Morimoto. Literally, we were just walking to the restaurant and some guy came up behind me and squeezed my behind. And I turned around and started screaming for him to come back, and a security guard heard me, and apparently we were right under a camera. I'm crying because I don't understand why this stuff happens, but that's how our night is going so far. So this evening did not go as expected. I don't know if this needs a trigger warning, but just in case, if you are uncomfortable with the discussion of assault, please do not watch this portion of the video. So as you know, Ryan and I were gonna go to the Morimoto restaurant and we went to MGM Grand. We had a 5:15 reservation and we got there at about 5 and we were wandering through. It's a massive hotel, for the record. If you have never been there, I actually looked it up because we had a lot of waiting time, but it is actually one of the biggest hotels in the world, but it's the biggest single hotel building in the world. It has the most rooms in it, and the bottom floor is also absolutely massive, and there's a ton of restaurants in it. And we've been there before, but we don't usually wander that deep into it. But yeah, so we got to Morimoto and we asked the hostess if we could be seated early at 5 instead of 5:15, and she said they didn't have any extra tables, and we were like, that's fine, we'll just wander until then. So we kept on walking, and there was I don't know if it was a food court area, but there was some random little food places, and then there was a seating area, and I saw that one of the places was a crepe area, and I was pulling Ryan, and I was trying to look at the crepes, and then while we were standing there, somebody came up behind me and grabbed my butt, and not just grabbed, but grabbed, cupped and squeezed, which, I mean, honestly, it's such and I know that people are potentially going to comment and say this is such a non-issue, but here's my thoughts on it. I am 31 years old. This is absolutely not the first time I have been groped by a stranger. To be honest, it's probably not the last time I'm going to be groped by a stranger. It's actually not even the first time that's happened to me in MGM Grand specifically. So I mean, unfortunately, as a woman, that is just something that happens all the time, but that doesn't make it okay. And whenever something like that happens, I don't know, I can't speak for other people's experiences, but for me, it makes me feel very small, it makes me feel very weak, and it just makes me feel extremely uncomfortable being a woman, and it's just something that is difficult and I'm sure it's difficult for everybody. So, whenever something like that happens, I kind of have an internal fight with myself. Like, do I speak up? Do I say something? Do I slap this person? Which as an adult, I can't do that because that's assault. But yeah, so it's like, it's a difficult situation. And when that happens, like, I'm feeling violated, but like, what do I do? So in that moment when it happened, and I think it was also just something I was excited about wearing these new pants, and they're so bright and like, I don't know, like loud kind of. And I hate that this was my first thought, but my first thought was just like, I shouldn't have worn these pants because they're attracting attention to my butt, and I'm so mad at myself for even feeling like that, because I don't think it's fair to put the onus on women who this sort of thing happens to. I think that's completely inappropriate and it is sexual assault. So yeah, it happened. And the guy kept on walking. He was with a friend, and I just started yelling and pointing, and I was like, that guy, and I like grabbed Ryan, and Ryan ran after him, and I grabbed the guy's shoulder. I don't even think I grabbed it. I just kind of like tapped him, and the two guys turned around, and I was like, you grabbed my butt. I didn't say butt, and I was cursing a lot because I was furious. And the guy immediately got super aggressive, and he was like, oh, what? I'll beat you up. And like, he was doing that, and we were like backing up, but I was still mad. I wanted an apology. I wanted an acknowledgement that this happened. So I was like pointing at him, and I was like, you grabbed me. You can't do that. And Ryan was yelling it too. And the guy like slapped my arm. I was screaming like, you can't touch me. And the guy was like making a fist as if he was gonna get in a fight, and security ran over and they separated us. And I just immediately started crying because it's not a fun thing when that happens. It's not fun when you get violated, and all I wanted was just to be able to go out and have a date night with Ryan, So they pull us apart, and they were like, what happened? And I said that guy grabbed my butt. It was a woman security guard, and she was like, do you want to press charges? And I didn't even know that was an option, but I was like, yes. Like, if I can, then yes, I absolutely want to, because I don't think it's fair. I don't think that we should be letting people get away with doing this sort of thing. I didn't say all that. I just said yes. And so they pull me aside. They take the guy away. He's still like yelling at Ryan. He's still like screaming at Ryan and like threatening to beat him up and stuff, which Ryan didn't even do anything except for defend me. The woman asked me what exactly happened, and I told her, and she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have them review the security footage and see what happened and see if we got anything on camera. And it turned out that they did. They got everything on camera. They got him coming up behind me, grabbing my butt, and then walking away. So they were like, okay, do you want to pursue this? Do you actually want to press charges? And I said yes, because again, I think that that's an important thing. And like, yes, I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I did feel violated. I still feel violated, and I just don't think we should let people get away with this. I don't think that it should be okay. And I know that there are going to be people in the comments that say like, that's what you get, that's what Vegas is like, but that shouldn't be how any place is like. Women should not be made to feel unsafe just for existing, and I'm very thankful that it wasn't any worse than it was, but I don't think that that sort of thing should happen to anybody. I don't think that's fair. So then they took us back to their like security area, and they had like a holding room where I guess they like handcuffed the guy and they brought him into the holding room. And I just want to say, the security and everybody on the Strip does take this sort of thing and anything that happens extremely seriously. I don't want this to deter anybody from visiting Vegas, because obviously this sort of thing happens anywhere, but I will say Vegas is absolutely swarming with security and cops, and there is cameras literally everywhere. I mean, if anything ever happens, if you're pickpocketed, if you're assaulted, if anything ever happens, like, they take it super seriously, and I'm very grateful that they took me seriously when I said it. But yeah, so they brought us into this area. There was like a holding room where he was, but then there was like a nice area with like a couch and a TV, and they let us stay there, and they put on some like nature documentary, and we ended up waiting there for a really long time. It actually ended up being like 2 hours, and we were in the room next to this guy, and he was belligerent. Like, they said that he was drunk, and he was like, we heard him screaming, and he was just like, you guys kidnapped me. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna press charges against that girl. Like, going on and on. And at one point, one of the guards came in and said that the guy wanted to press charges against me because he said that I hit him after he grabbed my butt. Honestly, it's just so laughable that somebody would try to press charges against me for being mad that they grabbed my butt. Like, I assaulted this woman and then she assaulted me back. Like, I don't think that's really fair. But I also didn't hit him. But they did say, like, I grabbed him and that could potentially count as assault. But they were saying there's no chance because the video shows him also sexually assaulting me. But yeah, so they originally said, like, they were like, are you sure you want to press charges? Like, you're gonna have to wait here for a few hours, which is totally fine. But if you don't want to press charges, you can just go. And at first I was thinking I didn't want to press charges, but then they told me that this guy wanted to press charges against me. And I was like, you know what, whatever. Yes, I do want to press charges. So yeah, we ended up waiting for a couple of hours. We totally missed our reservation, but they were very understanding about it. The cops did come and they asked me what happened, and I, gave a statement and everything, and they said that if I wanted to pursue it, they could arrest him and then he would have a court date. And then if I wanted him to actually go to jail for it, then I could go to the hearing and I could, share my story of what happened. So he said, there's no pressure to figure it out now, but if you want to, we can arrest him tonight and at least have him go to court. So I said yes to it because, like I said, I think it's important that we don't let these sort of things slide. And, I'm just thinking about how this sort of thing has happened to, I honestly, I would be shocked if this sort of, if you are a woman who has not experienced this, then that's a very rare situation. I feel like this has been happening to me since I was as young as 10 years old, as people being inappropriate or assaulting or sexually assaulting. And I just don't think that we should let it slide. Even the smallest of incidents, I don't think that we should let this stuff slide anymore. And, it was an overwhelming experience, but everyone was there wasn't one person who tried to discourage me from it. I feel like everybody was incredibly supportive. Even, I was crying and I was like, I'm sorry, I know this is not even a big deal. And they were like, don't say that. Don't say that this isn't a big deal. It is a big deal. There was actually one point, one of the cops, because they saw that we were local from our IDs, and one of the cops was like, how often do you go to the Strip? And I was like, we go almost every weekend, honestly. We go a lot. He was like, okay, so you know how it is. You know how people get rowdy. And I thought that this was the moment. And I was like, I started even tearing up again because I was like, I know he's going to say so this sort of thing happens. You can't let it get to you, whatever. But he did not say that. He said, so this is something we take very seriously and we don't want you to feel unsafe ever when you're here. So, and I was like, man, this is the first time that anybody has ever been so supportive. Just because I feel even just thinking about situations at workplaces with HR, and they're always boys will be boys, or this kind of stuff happens. But I don't know, I'm tired of it. So I'm not going to stand for it anymore. You can yell at me in the comments if you want, but this all happened around 5 p.m. We just got back at 9 p.m. and we stopped and got poke bowls because we obviously missed our reservation and the place was booked out, so we couldn't go there. But I wasn't in the mood anyway because I feel like I messed up my makeup and I was also upset. I just wanted to go home. But yeah, so that did not go as expected. Huge shout out to the security guards at MGM Grand though, because I really appreciate them taking me seriously, because I don't think that people are taken seriously often enough about it. I think it's incredible that they grabbed footage of it and they were immediately like, yep, we saw it happen. Do you want to, we're not going to judge you if you don't want to, but do you want to come back to the security office with us and make a statement and talk to the police? And I was just like, yeah. And also huge shout out to Ryan, because I don't even think I said to him what happened. I just started screaming and pointing, and Ryan just started running towards the guy without any context. So I do really appreciate that. And it's nice after a lifetime of not feeling supported to have just everybody surrounding me just being very supportive of what I was experiencing and not diminishing my experience. When I think about all of the experiences that I have had in that realm, this is lower on the scale. I mean, things can and do get a lot worse, and a lot worse has happened to me, and I'm sure a lot worse has happened to almost everybody. Yeah, even just taking this sort of thing seriously meant a lot, but it was kind of a crazy night, and I'm emotionally exhausted now, and I'm still pretty upset, and I want to go shower and cry for a little bit. That is how our night went. We did not really have a date night, unless you count watching a nature documentary for a couple of hours while we heard a drunk guy screaming about how he was being kidnapped as a date, which I don't think it was. I do want to post it because, and I don't know if this seems attention seeking, that's not what I'm trying to do, but I do want to bring awareness to this sort of thing. I wanted you guys to know, and I also wanted to say that I stood up for myself, and surprisingly it went in my favor, which is another rare thing. I think people don't really take that sort of stuff very seriously. But I always want to fight. I always want to fight for future people. I don't want this to happen again. I'm sure I ruined that guy's vacation, and now he has to fly back to Vegas for his court date. He should. I don't think that being in Vegas is a free pass to grope women. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gonna go be sad now. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Hello, friends. It's the next day. I was thinking a lot last night about what happened and about the fact that I'm talking about it in a video. I have a feeling I'm gonna get a lot of pushback, which kind of stresses me out. I know how this works, and like I said, this stuff has been happening to me my whole life, and I'm so used to hearing the things that people say to people who have this sort of experience. So I already know that people are gonna say I'm making too big of a deal out of this, or they're gonna say I took it too far and, ruined someone's vacation, or, got somebody arrested for something that wasn't a huge deal, or they're gonna say that so much worse has happened to them. I wanted to talk about that preemptively because I feel like this is the wrong mindset, and I feel like it's so ingrained in us to have that mindset. I think that every single aspect of this sort of thing needs to change. I think that men need to stop doing this to people. I think that people need to start taking it seriously when women speak out about it. And I think that people need to not push back on women who speak out about it. And that is why I wanted to do it. I mean, last night was the first time anybody in my life has ever taken this seriously, and not for lack of trying, but I was thinking, I remember the first time I was actually at the MGM Grand when I was like 21 or 22. I was here for a bachelorette party. It was my first time in Vegas, and I was at Hakkasan, which was a nightclub, and I was wearing a short skirt, and somebody at the nightclub stuck his hand all the way up my skirt. I didn't report it or anything. I mean, I actually did something probably terrible, which was that I punched him, which at the time I felt so good about it, but now I'm thinking like, that's just not adequate. That's not the right thing to do. Like, I think that the thing to do to make somebody realize that this is wrong is what I did last night. But I mean, yeah, when that happened in my early 20s, I didn't even know that you could report somebody for, like, I didn't know that that was even a thing that you could get somebody in trouble for. And I remember also my significant other at the time when that happened, I told him, and he was so mad at me, like it was my fault, saying that I shouldn't have worn such a short skirt and that I invited it to happen, which is another thing that I think is such a problem that needs to be addressed. I mean, if last night's events were anything, it just shows that it doesn't matter if you're wearing a sweater and pants or if you're wearing a tight short skirt. You know, it's gonna happen regardless, which is a problem, but it's never the person's fault who it happens to, it's the person's fault who does it. So yeah, I was like thinking a lot about that, and then I was thinking also about, I mean, I could literally fill a book with the times that this sort of thing has happened to me, but I remember when I was first out of college, I had a job where I had a coworker who was like 10 years older than me, and he would always send me explicit videos, and he was always really aggressive with me, and it got to a point where I hated going into work because he would literally beg me to sleep with him. Like, he was that explicit about it. And it took me so long because everybody was saying, like, just smile and keep your head down, like, don't worry about it, like, he's just trying to egg you on. Like, and I finally did go to HR about it, but he was the head of the company's son, and HR was like, you should just take it as a compliment, like, why don't you go on a date with him, like, he's such a nice guy. And so, like, that was my experience with reporting it, you know? So that's why I just never even knew it was an option. And even before that, I remember a specific time in college. It happened a lot in college, but there was one specific time I was at a party and somebody came up behind me, both hands under the skirt, did a little squeezing and walked away. And I was actually with a boyfriend at the time, and the guy that I was with saw it happen, and I was like, are you just gonna stand there, or are you gonna say something to that guy? And he was like, I'm not gonna fight him. I mean, I want something, like, is that just okay? Is that okay that somebody just walks by and touches my butt? And the guy that I was dating was like, I mean, I don't know what you expect me to do about it. So it's like, that was always kind of the response that I got, you know? And that was even when I just was at the point where I wanted to tell somebody every time. Because before that, I mean, I remember when I was in high school and I was late for class one time, and I was going up the stairway that was completely empty in like a back hallway, and there was a guy in that hallway, and he, you know, pushed me behind the stairs and he kissed me against my will because I was there and female and available, and I never told anybody about that. And there was another time in high school where somebody who I thought was my friend did something much worse to me against my will, and I never told anybody about that either. And I remember when I was 10 years old, and there was a much older man in my life who was very inappropriate with me, and I never told anybody, and it went on for years. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know, there's always this blame placed on people because it's like, well, maybe you wanted it, maybe you were dressed suggestively, and it's just like, can you tell that to my 10-year-old self? Can you tell that to me last night wearing corduroy pants that aren't even like sexually suggestive? I don't know, I'm sorry that I'm like making this into a thing, but all of this is just to say it was the right thing to do because I want to stand up for my younger self, and I want to stand up for the people that don't get to stand up, and I know that it's not safe for everybody to stand up, and I know that when I did start yelling and that guy started coming at me and Ryan aggressively, my first thought was like, I should not have done this. I should have just let it go, because I thought that he was gonna hurt me or hurt Ryan. And like, I was just thinking like, why did I make a big deal of this? Why did I do this? And just to have the people there, you know, stop us and immediately ask me if I wanted to press charges, which I didn't even know was an option. And when the cops were talking to me hours later, and I said like, yes, I want him to get a fine for this or something, and they were like, he doesn't get a fine, he goes to jail, he assaulted you and he would go to jail for it. That's the first time that it's ever happened, and I want to be stronger, and I want, when I'm able to speak out and tell people that this is wrong, because I don't think it's fair that my whole life I have been made to feel like it's my fault when it happens. Just need to let it go, because nothing's ever going to come of it, because guess what? Something did come of it. And now somebody is facing repercussions for doing what he did to me. And maybe there are people out there who are watching this video who are like, he just grabbed your butt, it's not a big deal. But you know what? It is a big deal, and I don't think that I have to defend that. Anytime you are sexually assaulted is a big deal, and it is not okay. And yeah, I don't regret what I did, and I'm sure I'm still gonna get comments about it, but I am standing by that decision, and the more I think about it, the more I think it is the right decision to go to court and testify against this person, because even if you were doing something small like that, I mean, how many people do you think last night
or on his vacation to Las Vegas, how many people do you think he touched inappropriately? How many women did he pass by and grab? I feel like I did the people of Las Vegas a service because he was handcuffed and he was taken in instead of left to his own devices. I just wanted to say that. Again, I know that people are going to be saying that I'm being dramatic, but again, I've been through this my whole life. That literally me just listing out like a handful of times, like that doesn't even begin to cover it. And if you are watching this and you have never experienced anything like this, first of all, you're very fortunate. And second of all, you should talk to the other people in your life, mostly women. It happens to men too. It happens to everybody. And see what their experiences are and listen to them, because I think a lot of guys especially don't realize that this happens constantly and it's not okay. And yeah, that's it. So that's why I wanted to talk about it in a vlog. That's why I was willing to share my experience, because I feel like if anybody is watching me and they're young, just know that it's not okay when it happens. And unfortunately, yes, it does happen. And I know that you're not always in a situation where you can report it. And even if you are in a situation where you can report it, it's not always justice taken. Sometimes they'll just say like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. But I'm never going to judge anybody for not reporting it. But for me, I feel like my new goal is that I'm always going to speak up when it is safe for me, and at the very least make whoever it is who does it feel like an idiot and feel as small as they make me feel when they do that to me. That was just a little rant for you, a little Sunday rant. Thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you for understanding, and if you maybe don't understand, then I can talk more about it to you in the comments. I don't know, it's not okay, and I'm not gonna be treated like it's okay. I'm going to go and have a nice dinner tonight to make up for the nice dinner that I missed last night. I will talk to you guys later, and then we can pick up the series of me visiting restaurants in Las Vegas. I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye.